Welcome to the Luna Holistic Podcast. I'm your host, Geneva Robbins, and every month on this podcast, we'll talk about Reiki, as well as answering your questions on all things spiritual. We are gratefully located in Calgary in Treaty 7 territory. Thank you all and welcome to the show. Hello and welcome to the Luna Holistic Podcast. My name's Geneva Robbins, and today I have Kim Starr with me. Say hi, Kim.
Hi, everybody.
Good to see you. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Always excited to be here.
Yay. Today we are going to talk about finding your purpose. How do you know what your purpose is? And then once you've found it, how do you stay on track? That's one of my favorite topics. So we'll dive into that and just share basically from our own experience, because that's the only frame of reference we have. But often we are helping people in our Reiki sessions and courses to tap into their own wisdom. So we'll share our little nuggets of wisdom on that. But before we jump in, let's do a little meditation. So you can gently close your eyes, take a big sigh of relief, and let everything connect to the earth below you. Just sending a wave of gratitude deep into the earth, noticing all of the blessings that come from this planet, all of the water and air and creatures and green things, all of the life that surrounds us now. And just stretch out into that space, feeling that deep, wise presence greeting you. And just take a big sigh of relief into your heart space. Know that as long as your heart is beating, you are on your path. And allow the energy of the universe to connect with you, flowing down through the top of your head, through your body, expanding through the energy field around you, your aura. And just take a big sigh of relief and expand that space just a little bit more. Bring yourself up tall. Expand through your heart. And feel the sense of space and ease and light all around you. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. I realize I didn't do my normal, if you're driving, don't do this meditation. Don't close your eyes and meditate while you're driving. But I'm just going to assume everybody knows that. So, but how did that go for you, Kim?
Yeah, so good. I mean, I remember a long time ago when you would say every business meeting or every meeting we have, we always start with meditation. And that was kind of foreign and new for me, to be honest. And now it's like I have to do it before something, before I'm starting to share or before I start my day or in any sort of meeting that I'm in. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. It's the first order of business, really. Like, how can you possibly get anything meaningful done if you haven't cleared out the chaos in your mind? You're just going to create from that chaos instead of creating from your core, which I think actually leads us really nicely into how do you find your purpose? And it's like, it's not something you think your way into. That's my take on it, is that I feel like our purpose is not a location or a job description. It is an energy. And this is this energy of fulfillment and using your gifts, skills, and talents in a way that is satisfying and benefits you and benefits other people. And sometimes that is a job, but many times it is a frequency that gets fulfilled by many activities in your life, not just your work in your workplace. And so sometimes it's something that gets expressed, if you're lucky, sometimes your purpose and your job title do line up and you can make your living from the thing that is your biggest gift to the world. Other times it isn't. Maybe it's something you do in your off hours or volunteering, or it's something that you would never get paid for, like being a great family member or a parent or a really awesome friend, a confidant and, a person that can listen with compassion to other people. If that's your role, I have a friend whose purpose is to be a connector. And I just love that she has this huge, vast, diverse array of people that she knows and connects with. And you don't get paid for that. I mean, you can. Now she's getting paid for it, but it's like that's not a typical like 9 to 5 job. It's like my job is to like introduce this person to this other person. That's my whole purpose, is to make sure that all of the soul connections happen through other people. So, uh, yeah, it's not something that is often even a logical thing for me. From my purpose, it was really about like feeling my way there. And I think it's like sometimes you find it not by looking forward, but by looking backward. So, what I feel like our purpose is this sort of like deep calling in our heart. And it might change throughout our life through different experiences. So it's not a static thing. It's not fixed in place. It is a fluid energy in your soul. And because it's part of your spiritual makeup and your soul, it's never that far away. So your purpose isn't out there ahead of you, in front of you in the future. It is present with you and it's been with you all along. So sometimes I found by when I make the final connection where my mind is like, oh, I can like see the trail of breadcrumbs that the the universe keeps on pushing me into these moments and these experiences, and what do they all have in common when I feel like I'm aligned with me, when I'm aligned with the universe, when things feel like they're clicking into place. And sometimes when I look back over my life, I'm like, oh, I can see a pattern. For me, I knew like healing and spirituality was a big piece of how I understood the world. But again, it didn't ever seem like it could be a job description. There was a career day in high school. There was nobody who did anything like me there. There was barely any scientists. And I was like, I want to learn biology. There was not a single biologist at my high school career fair. And so I was really sort of always in this place of like seeking and trying to figure out like what interests me and where I would go. And so I'd start out in heading one direction, sort of following the call of my heart, following the joy inside me, sort of what was lighting me up and what was bringing this sort of curiosity and fun and this sort of playful witness energy, but not really knowing kind of how that could play out into something that I could do with most of my hours of the day. And then I like found Reiki. And again, it was awesome. I'd like to do Reiki sessions with other people. And I started doing that. But when it really clicked was when I started teaching Reiki. So just doing one-on-one sessions, it just sort of never got a lot of traction. I'd have spaces and then I get booted out of those spaces of where I was practicing Reiki. And then I'd be a Reiki nomad, just sort of giving people Reiki like have Reiki table will travel. And I'm like, I'll give anybody Reiki who wants to receive Reiki. But what clicked for me and when the business really took off was when I started teaching Reiki. And as soon as I started, it just was like, it was a light bulb. It was like, it from the very first class, it was profound. And then by the second class I ever taught, we teach over 8 weeks following the chakras. So the first class was root chakra, the second class was sacral chakra for Reiki level 1. And I taught that class and I came home and I just bawled because something deep inside me was like, what have I just made? I created this course curriculum outline based on what I wanted, what I felt was needed, and what was missing in North American classes for Reiki. Most of the Reiki classes were really short. And for people who already had a spiritual practice, it was fine because they were already doing a lot of the self-care tools. They're already meditating. They had a yoga practice. So learning Reiki was like an add-on to their existing practice. But I had heard so many people say, I took this weekend class and I still can't really feel the energy in my hands. And I was like, oh, well, you just need more time. This is a skill. You need to practice it. And so I wanted to create a class that was longer so that people could have the time to feel the energy in their hands. And that was my intent. It was like, let's just give you lots of practice. We're going to practice with lots of different meditation styles. We're going to practice with affirmations because that's, the intention part of Reiki is really important. And then, like if at the end of 8 weeks, people can feel the energy in their hands, that's great. But what actually happened is like the second class in, people were having big, huge epiphanies, awakenings. They were recognizing patterns, huge patterns that they needed to heal. And I just came home and I thought, oh my gosh, this is so much bigger than what I thought I was making, which was, this really simple goal. And also, everything in me was like, this is it. This is the thing. This is why I am here. And this creating this and delivering this to people is the job. This is the work ahead. Even if I, you know, don't make any money or much money from it, is like I will move heaven and earth to continue doing this for the rest of my life. And little did I know then what I know now, which is the energy behind it is even bigger than I could have imagined. We've been invited to go to Indigenous communities and help bring Reiki to community events. And I've been able to do some teaching of some like brilliant, brilliant healers and teachers, and seeing this ripple of getting Reiki into the hands of people who have massive trauma, but also massive brilliance of every background. And then seeing this like ripple through time of, like Kim, you're a teacher in this lineage. And it's like, I don't know all of your students, and your students are going to go on to teach too. And it just sort of creates this ripple and a wave. I didn't find my purpose. My purpose found me, but I was willing to follow the energy in my heart that says, go this way, do this thing, and to ultimately not hold myself back from what I was being called to do. As soon as I let go and I'm like, oh, I think I'm a teacher. I think I've always been a teacher. I think everywhere I've ever gone in my life, right back to like math class in high school where I was teaching the kids around me math, because why wouldn't you? So, and getting yelled at by the actual math teacher because I was a better teacher than him. So, and just sort of like, oh, this is where I've been led. And And so it was one of those things where by being willing to follow this like really quite vague energy that would just sort of point me in the direction, but not give me very much specifics. It was like following this feeling, but not knowing how it was going to play out, and not knowing if it was like, is this the right thing? Is this the right thing? You kind of like trial the things and it's like, oh, I think it's might be this way. And then you walk that way. And it's a little bit like moving around in a dark room, with a blindfold on. And you're just sort of following that, yeah, warmer, colder thing. But yeah, how does it all sit with you?
Yeah, just like so many of the things that you've said just completely resonate for me as well. Reiki also just found me. This is definitely my purpose. But I remember like hearing this Luna holistic like over and over again, and I'd see it. I'd see like little things. Like I'd go to, like a crystal shop, and I'd see like a little Luna holistic take a course, and finally, just like you're saying, like following the feeling, it just felt like I couldn't explain it really. But it just felt like I need to take this course. I don't have any idea why I need to take this course, but it keeps coming up and I just feel it in my bones that this is where I'm supposed to go. So I remember, and I also have this memory of like signing up and filling out the application. And I'd been like involved in some energy work before, but nothing like what I was about to learn. And and I remember filling out the application and saying something like, I'm going to teach this, like I know it. And I remember at the time being like, that is so weird. Like, I was like, is that, and like kind of thinking, like, I can't believe I said that. Like, like how, anyway, I just remember thinking, this is so weird. And then getting there and feeling like you were talking about that like feeling in your heart, and it was like, I know this is it, this is my purpose. And not knowing like how it's going to play out and not knowing what it's going to look like, but just really trusting in that feeling and just continuing to go even sometimes when it gets hard or you're discouraged. It's like just like following that feeling. And I always think of purpose as like it's not what you do, but it's who you are and it's who you become in the process of learning and growing and moving through and just letting the heart lead, right? So, and then also just I feel like with Reiki, so Reiki, even if this isn't like your career, I feel like with Reiki has this beautiful way of, I call it the doorways of light. That's what I say to my students because Reiki just has this way of opening those doorways that lead you in the direction that is meant for you, and you just feel it, and something happens. It's like this magical light turns on. So yeah.
I love that so much. I'm like, yes, I love this so much because, like, in all the time that I've been doing this, which has been a substantial amount of time, like, yes, doorways of light. It really is that. And it's this unfoldment as you learn each level, as you get like each symbol, as you practice each time you practice, it's like another doorway opens and it sort of creates this opening and flow for people to find their way. So, yeah, beautiful. Thank you. I love that so much. It is. And it's um the other thing that's interesting is like if you're for anybody who's listening, if you are a helper and a healer and you're like, I know I'm supposed to help people, but I'm not sure how. Uh, do what I did, which was start with yourself. You are going to be your first, best, and last client. So, any program that you want to create for other people, run yourself through that program first. Anything you want to do or help with other people, be your best client, be your first student in a class if you're going to teach a class. I think it's like, not only is that good ethically, because then you're practicing what you preach and you've really tested it out in lots of different conditions. Like, does it still work when this happens? And does it still work when that happens? But, and you will familiarize yourself with your craft, which is useful in itself. But in Reiki, and the way we teach here is this idea that all healing is self-healing. So when you are doing your own self-care, you are creating an energy where your capacity for helping others increases. So you become a better healer the more you take care of yourself, just in all of the ways you take care of yourself. So that's one little tidbit there. And then also, if you are taking care of yourself and asking for help, then you will attract people who take care of themselves and ask for help. So it's a really good way of generating clients without pushing and pulling. So we've got the Energetic 8 Business School class and Energetic 8 coaching with me. So you can look on the Luna Holistic website, and we'll put the links in the description for those two things, of basically how I share my method for how I went from, oh, I know what my purpose is, to now, how do I do that? How do I bring this to people and package it in a way that isn't salesy, or, doesn't feel authentic or aligned. It is a different kind of business than other kinds of business. So you would need a different kind of business development. So I basically share what I did to go from, I think maybe I'm a spiritual teacher, I really want to do this, to now having a business and a location and people who work with me, and all of these products and books. And so I'm really happy to help you go from understanding what your purpose is to like getting it into people's hands and moving you through any of the resistance and blocks that might come up, because it's vulnerable to do the thing you really want to do. And if your ego has anything to say about it, it's like, no, 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 you're not doing that. You're going to watch another 15 hours of Netflix, so rather than work on your website. Yeah. So I'm familiar with that trick. And I am also familiar with getting out of those little psychic leg traps that your ego can get you stuck in. So if that's you, you're not alone and you have help, and you can start simply. So just really start simple and let it build from there, because your purpose isn't going anywhere, which is a nice thing. So you can relax, because the universe has got to invested in you finding your purpose. So if you relax and just take things one bit at a time and keep following that steady, joyful, expanded, like the doors of light opening sort of feeling, even if it feels scary, and maybe especially if it feels vulnerable and scary, it's like, ooh, I don't know what I'm stepping into, but it feels good. That's forward. As long as you're moving forward, forward is forward, even if it's a tiny little incremental 5-minute step a day, you will get moved to the place where you need to be to connect with the people that you're meant to help. I know this to be true. I absolutely know it to be true. If you're in the space where you're like, I don't know what it looks like, I don't know if I have a passion or a joy, also welcome. It's okay to be confused about what that is. I think the biggest thing is let go of it having a name and instead focus on the feeling. So at the base level, it's going to be a feeling of fulfillment, a deep inner peace. It will feel really rooted and grounded. So it won't feel like an ecstatic, zingy, addictive rush. It won't feel like a rush. It'll feel calm, steady, rooted, but open. Like all the doors are opening, like there's space for your heart to breathe. Like there's a relief or a feeling or sense of coming home, and this very quiet certainty. It's like, I don't know how I know, I just know. Often what I find is that sometimes people will come in and they're like, I don't really know what I want to do. And I go, oh, okay, cool. Well, let's just do some Reiki and we'll experiment with fulfillment. And this, we'll use that as your intention and we'll do some Reiki because Reiki helps you connect with yourself and connect with the flow of energy in the universe. And when you're in that sort of deep core self, not the thinking mind, but the knowing place within you, which is like located deeper in the body. It's a real core sense. So sometimes people feel it in their heart, sometimes people feel it in their gut or lower. So it's sort of like this very deep feeling in the body. And so Reiki just sort of helps you tap into that space and out of the mental chatter. And the mental chatter and noise can make you very confused. Often, so often, I have people at the end of it is like, oh, yeah, I didn't really know. At the beginning, they'll say, I don't really know what I want. I don't really know what I like. And then at the end, just as we're leaving, I'll share the experience. They'll share their experience of the Reiki session. And they'll go, you know, what I've always really wanted to do or thought I could be good at is, and then they'll share this huge, cool project. And I was like, my hair goes on fire and my eyes leap out of my head. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. And that's how terrible our minds can be, is that people can have these huge, cool, creative projects just bubbling away inside of them. And their minds can convince them that they're not interested in anything. Nothing interests me. Nothing brings me joy. And it's because we're actually actively suppressing that joyful, expanded purpose because following it means breaking rules or being seen or whatever thing the ego is afraid of. It's like, nope, we aren't even going to let you have that idea because it's dangerous to be different. It's dangerous to dream. It's dangerous to expand, to be in a bigger, bolder, wiser energy. If we do that, then they will come and get us. And maybe, but the worst thing is that if we don't let ourselves go there, our lives shrink and we collapse in on ourselves. And sometimes some people's bodies will become sick because we're cutting ourselves off from this life essence and not doing the thing that our soul came here to do. And when we do that, there's a deep pain inside that hurts us in a way that can be life-threatening. Some people feel so cut off from their joy and hope and purpose that they feel like there's no point of being here, which is the end extreme of why you need to follow your purpose. But also when you are, even in a very small way, and you don't put any outer world rules on it of that it has to make money and it has to be fantastic the very first time you try it, and all of these things, when we just let ourselves go there, you following your purpose brings light to everyone. So like, I love what you said, Kim, about the doors of light opening. When the doors of light open for you, we're all connected to everyone else. So even if people never encounter your work, when you've opened those doors of light, it will naturally open up other people to find their path and their way. It has to, because we live in this interconnected web of energy that's quantum by nature. And so if we make one ripple in one part of the web, the other part is going to light up. So that's what I think about that. But what are your thoughts on that? How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I love everything you said. I love how you were talking about what it feels like in your body, this like very grounded, like this knowing, but you don't know why you know. Um, and it just is this like, and as it grows, it is this true fulfillment feeling.
Mhm.
And it also brought up just I remember, and I have like journals of when I was in Reiki classes, and I would continue to have this vision of me sitting in a big space with lots of people. There was no words, but my heart would just start lighting up and radiating. And then one by one, each person sitting across from me, their hearts would start to light up. And that's when I kind of realized like I am supposed to teach, because I think my wish for everyone is to have that, to have the same feeling that I get to live every day. And it all kind of began with me connecting to myself. And I remember like I was in a place where I was completely disconnected and life was heavy and it was hard. And if you're not connecting within, it's easy sometimes to forget, like, who am I? What is my joy? What is my passion? What lights up my heart? And so I think in realizing that like my purpose is to help other people be able to get to that place for themselves. And so yeah, it's just for me, it's just been such a beautiful journey, and it's just been so fulfilling. And so I love to kind of help people, and I love to see when it starts, when those little nudges start to come in and that people are getting excited, like, oh, this came up for me. And I remember really loving this. And I remember that like this thing brings me joy. And that's the best feeling for me, is like, oh, good. You're connecting to that sense of that knowing that like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, or this is who I am really.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. It creates a wave and a ripple that pulls you into greater fulfillment. Our conscious mind will like discount like the small little steps forward, but I like what you said about those little sparks of like these little tiny like sparks of where the joy starts. And part of it is like getting into a still and quiet place, like either with meditation or Reiki or being in nature. Creativity and art and play are all ways of like tapping into that sort of core self. There's also really cool therapy methods like internal family systems, where you like talk to all of your parts, and then the part that's talking to all of your parts is your like central self, and that central self isn't afraid of anything. It's willing to try, it leans into curiosity. But it's also grounded and takes care of all of the pieces of you. So there's lots of ways of connecting into that sort of core identity or core feeling. And then being willing to follow up with, those little tiny nudges. And what I usually recommend for people, if they're just starting out and they're not sure, they're like, it's been dark in here for a long time. I can't feel anything. There's no little nudges. I feel like it's just any way I turn, it's just all gray and dull. That's okay. Just know that the energy of your purpose is inside of you. You can never get away from it. So just tiny things. So, spending a few moments in meditation, getting calm and connected, or as calm as you can get into your essential self. And then think about anything you've ever wanted to experience. So, like, try a lot of little teeny tiny samples of those things. So if you've ever wanted to travel to a place, like I've always been interested in going to Thailand, whatever place it is. Instead of investing a huge amount of time and money to go to a place and you're like, well, maybe I don't like it and maybe it doesn't make sense for it to travel right now or whatever, is like instead of going full into it, just take a little nibble out of these little things that you're like, that interests me. Small in time and small in dollar investment. So, like, why not go to a Thai restaurant and have a meal? Or why not, listen to a Thai movie or, like learn some of the language or see if there's a community hall having a public event and you could go and meet some people, right? Like those are kind of things where it's like it's small investment and then you get this new experience. So if you're always doing the same thing every single day, it's going to be hard to encounter your purpose because you're not doing anything new. And so it's sort of like follow up on fun, weird, random things. It's a little bit of like a random walk through the world. Do things that are fun and enjoyable or intriguing or that spark some form of curiosity. If you're curious about it, even a little bit. Same thing with like researching things on Wikipedia, like anything you're curious about, like learn more about it, follow up. It doesn't have to go anywhere. It's just giving you an experience. Because if you've ever as a kid played the game of warmer colder, where somebody takes an object and they decide that's it, maybe it's a hairbrush or something, and then they like put it back in the room. And then you tell the person who's playing warmer colder, so that person doesn't know what you've picked. They come back in the room and then they start walking around. And you say, if they step towards it, you say warmer. If they step away from it, you say colder. And if they get really close, then the temperature goes up. It's like hot, 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 cold, cold, cold. You're ice cold. So we have that warmer, colder sense within us and we know it by how we are feeling inside. Does it feel like full fulfillment? Does it feel like joy? Does it feel like it gives you an energy? It's fun, it's playful, it's intriguing. That curiosity makes you curious about other things. So sometimes it's like it's not the path, but it's leading you towards something. If we get really locked in place, so imagine playing the warmer, colder game where you walked into the center of the room and you stood still and you didn't move. It means you're not playing the game. You're not playing with the universe. So if the universe wants you to know your purpose, you got to move around. And then the universe will respond with you. You will feel a resonance in your body that you can't explain in words because it's not in words, it's in your soul. And your soul doesn't talk in words, it talks in energy. And so it's a feeling of energy that is expansive. It feels like doors opening. It feels fresh. It feels like forward. It feels light, but steady. So you're sort of seeking that feeling. And it also isn't even necessarily not a brave thing. Sometimes it is very brave. And moving forward can kind of scare the pants off of you. So this podcast is a really good example. Like when I decided to do the podcast, I was so scared. I was so vulnerable, and it still kicks up vulnerability. This is our 36th episode and it still kicks up vulnerability. Why? Because it's important, because it's expansive, because it's on the track. But when I tuned into doing it versus not doing it, there was an opening within me that led me forward. And going forward feels better than leaning away from it. Leaning away from it feels like stagnation. It feels like closing. It feels less fun. It feels like stuck, you know? And so if you just are always taking those little samples of life And also knowing that even when you know have found your purpose, you still need to take nibbles of life. So I'm always on the lookout for interesting experiences, new experiences that are going to like connect me with joy. I'm always sort of tuning in whenever I have an opportunity is like, does that resonate with me? Does that feel like forward? Does it feel like this on the path, on the purpose? Uh, or does it feel like away from the path or purpose? You know, is it moving me forward or is it a step sideways or step back? And and all of it is okay. It's all just information. I find when I follow that, things work out. When I don't follow that, things don't work out. Because the universe is always, it's got little like, you know, buffers pushing you back onto your path. So, but yeah. How does that sit with you, Kim?
Yeah, like I can completely relate to so much of what you're saying. And like what came up for me was just thinking about the like oracle deck that I've
Yes.
created. Uh,
Yes. So excited
yeah,
for this Oracle deck.
me too. But it was one of those things where I remember starting to create this. And I felt at first, I was like, oh, my mind was like, this is a distraction from your work. This is a distraction from your purpose. But, and then in having a session with you, I remember you're like, is it joyful? And I was like, yes. And you're like, then it's the work. That is the work. Right. And the gifts that it's brought me creating this has been incredible. And it is the work. It's part of the work and it's part of sharing the work and it is part of the purpose. But it's really tuning into, I think, that joyful energy and that energy that feels right. Right. It just feels like this feels right for me. And it doesn't have to make sense. Like you were saying, like you're always tuning into those things and your path and your purpose shifts and evolves and changes as you grow as well, right? The new doorways of light keep opening and there's more. And so yeah, that and then also one of the things that I find too is sometimes when I'm thinking and when I have clients and students come in, something that always seems to connect is like what pain has the person healed from that might be able to give them a little bit of a nudge towards, oh, maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing, or maybe this is part of my purpose is sharing all of the things that I've learned about this pain or this lesson that I've walked through. And so it's not always like the light, fun, and free stuff. It can be the looking back at like some of those more difficult situations and seeing your expansion and your growth that has come from those situations. And oftentimes that will lead to your purpose as well.
Absolutely. I always think like as healers, like your greatest gift is the thing that you've had to work through because you know that issue inside and out and you have great compassion, like hard-won compassion for anybody else in that same spot. And it might look like doing energy work like Reiki or, you know, coaching or some other helping healing thing, or it could look like volunteering. It could look like writing, doing art that is transformative on these themes and topics as a way of like sharing your process of healing and the things that have really worked for you. And some of that you get paid for, and some of that is just you just pure sharing. And the universe decides whether you get your funding for your life's work from the work or from your job. Nothing has gone wrong if you have a different kind of day job than your purpose. Because sometimes you don't get paid for that. And but that doesn't mean it's any less fulfilling or any less valuable because it doesn't have a price tag attached to it. And so, like, just setting aside like monetary value, like, be open to it, it can absolutely be a doorway for abundance. But whether money flows in for it doesn't have anything to do with its true value. You know, think of like one beautiful hug from your grandma, right? Somebody who loves you unconditionally. Like, that's invaluable, and becomes more valuable and precious if your grandma's passed away, like mine. It's like those things are truly our true currency in life. Love, energy, creativity, joy. That's why we're here. And so when we like take that pressure off of it having to turn into a product, sometimes it frees us up in our creativity. And then we start making things that sometimes turn into products. But if we don't go there first, then sometimes it just opens up these doorways so that you are just making this thing and not putting any pressure on it. I like Elizabeth Gilbert's quote, which is like, your creativity, like treat your creations like your dog, right? It's like its job isn't to make you any money. Its job is just to be there and you love it and it loves you. And then when you let that relationship be light like that, sometimes your creations make you money and sometimes they won't, but it doesn't make them worth less, you know? And so it's like when we take that filter away, then it opens up all of these possibilities. So then it's like, why am I learning, Korean? It was like, because it's kind of cool to say a few words of Korean pretty poorly to people who love that you've even made an attempt. It's so fun to be part of something. It's so fun. It's like, it adds to the joy and beauty of your life. And that's the whole idea behind it. It means that if you're willing to go on this adventure and start with things that are small, safe, and tiny, it means that all of a sudden you're starting to add these little sparkles of joy everywhere in your life. And it could lead you to something amazing. But even if it doesn't, it means you have a sparkly, joy-filled life, which you really need when times are hard, like they have been. When the pressure's on, we need more of that, not less of that. And when we do that, it creates space for everyone else to get connected. So amazing. I could talk for days about this.
Ew.
Thank you so much for joining me, Kim. It's been
Having me.
Lovely talking about this. I'm so glad your purpose connected you to me. It's been great. And yeah, thanks for listening, everybody. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on the Luna Holistic Podcast. We're so grateful that you are here. If you've got a question, we'd love to hear from you. Go to lunaholistic.com/podcast and we'll answer you in an upcoming episode. Be sure to subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And also please rate, because you never know where your little 5 stars will go to shine light into somebody's heart today. So thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.